Good morning, good morning, good morning, B. How is it going?
Good morning. It's going great. How you doing, Butterfly? AKA
I'm
Mama.
good. I'm good.
Good, good, good.
I'm
Welcome
good.
everybody to the In This Season podcast, the 139th day of the In This Season podcast with the powerful mother and then her son duo, the powerful mother and son duo. So shout out to my mom for keeping this thing going. I appreciate you. I love you. Good to see you. You good on this kind of rainy day still?
Yeah, I feel a little
Yeah.
rainy. I spent some time on the patio again this morning, so that was really good again. So
Good,
yeah, yeah.
good,
So
good. Well,
hear so much out there, y'all. Oh man, you just hear things that not a lot of people are moving that time of morning, and you just kind of hear the. I don't know. It's just so refreshing. So refreshing. So
oh, well, good. I'm glad it seems like it's a peace for you, a purification for you, being out there in nature.
yeah,
I know that's
I
a
miss
couple
that.
shows ago we mentioned that, saying go outside more,
Yeah,
connect with
yeah,
nature more,
yeah.
connect with the rest of creation. But thank y'all for joining us. Who do we have in the chat? We got people coming in, Facebook Live,
Mhm.
Instagram. I did send you the Instagram piece, so as soon as that's up and going, we can get to rocking.
We got Big Mike, we got
Right.
KL, and we got Miss Brenda in the house.
In
So
the, in
I
the
will get
house.
us going on Instagram. That'll only take a second, you guys here. And let's see. There we go. Meanwhile, y'all tell us how yesterday went for you. Did you pray? Did you find yourself giving more time to God?
Yeah, how
Praying?
was that, y'all? Let us know how that went.
Well, I guess it'll be good
Did
if I
anybody
copy.
say a prayer yesterday? I wanted. Did
I
anybody
did.
prostrate yesterday? Did anybody actually bow down? Did you?
I
I'm
did. I
interested.
spent,
Interested in your
yeah, yeah,
experience.
yeah. Because, I say you do it, but I need to do it more. I mean, I feel like that was just a call to us all, Brandon. I just sent that over to you. That's a
Awesome.
call. I think we all can, not I think, we all can benefit from praying a bit more, no matter where you are in that season of praying. Adding, if it's just a few seconds, if it's just another minute to your prayer life, certainly can do you no harm. No harm. So,
Or a little bit intention um,
mhm,
inside of the prayer. Like for my Christian brothers and sisters, the fact that Jesus prostrated and put his forehead to the ground. So as a Christian to be um, Christ like, you would want to do things the way that Christ did them, would you not? And
mhm,
so there should
mhm.
be some benefits that are unrealized if you have not submitted to God in that way. If you have not submitted yourself by lowering, the crown of the jewel of your body, which is your face, where there's the most ego, where there's the most pride, where there's the most vanity, where there's potential for on a clean ground, or just so prostrating, adding intention, or adding the intention of washing yourself, what we call.
Oh gosh, there he is.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, y'all. That's me. I think
There you
that's
go.
my stuff. Yeah.
That's okay. You good
We
over
good?
there?
We in there?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Are we all good? Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Can you still see me? Okay, that was
Yep.
weird. Um, but you know how those rainy days go. It said because on my screen it says that I'm backstage. Does it say that for
No.
you?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
You're
cool,
here,
cool. I was
front and
like, oh
center.
man, what's going on? But yeah, just adding some extra intention to your prayers. I wonder if that has had any impact on you all. So let me know how that went for you. Anybody?
I don't see any comments. Maybe they'll share it with us later if that's something that they decided to do yesterday, or even if you thought about it.
Yeah.
And it's okay to give yourself some grace, but what kept coming to mind for me yesterday is my comparison to like prayer being cleaning the window so that you could see clearly. I
Mm,
remember a story of a husband and wife, and the wife, they had these big beautiful windows, they could see into the neighbor's yard, and the wife kept saying, that lady needs to get another washer because her clothes are dirty, that she would hang them outside and they appeared to be dirty. And what really was dirty was her windows, wasn't the lady's clothes. So she needed to clean her windows. And about our ancestors being more people of prayer. They prayed more, I believe, than we did for sure, or than we do for sure. And I thought about yesterday, that's why they seem to have so much strength and be at peace amongst so many problems going on. I think about my grandmothers and the things they had to endure and grow through in comparison to the things that we see as major now. Like they breezed through it. And
right.
I believe there was an inner strength that came from their prayers, from their shut-ins, right? They would go and shut in, and we'd be right there on the bench. Sometimes you just go to sleep right there on the bench in church. But they went before our God in thanksgiving and praise and worship, right? And of asking, and I don't believe it was for things. It was just for the peace of you, God, the strength from you, God, right? To endure. And that's why we saw them. I remember seeing most of my elders just really being people of strength and faith. Like no matter what they went through, it seems it did not change who they were or how they believed in the Almighty God. And right now, we'll get our feelings and spirit will be some kind of way because it's raining.
Mm.
And they will look at it as a time because remember, y'all, when the weather would start acting crazy, did y'all have to sit down? Like God is doing His
I remember
work.
that.
They weren't thinking about what it's doing, how it's making me feel, or what I can't do. God is doing His work. Sit down and be quiet. you know. So I thought about some things yesterday, and I do feel like because at first when I read it, I telling you like we've been on our knees forever and a day, right? Maybe we need to get up and do some stuff. But I get it. I get it. I got it yesterday, and I get it even more today. So it was good for me.
Good, good, good. I mean, and I think about prayer, you have to put your best effort forward, and then trust in God, right? Because God has already given you the blessings of your hands, your mind, your feet, you know, your determination, your willpower. God has given you willpower, something that He hasn't given many other beings. You know what I mean? The mountains can't move if they want to. The trees can't just get up and start walking, the way in the same way, or make the choice to choose between good and evil. But you have that choice. That's why I think people can be higher than the angels or lower than the beasts and the devils. Because we have that freedom of will and choice.
Yeah.
So, you know, pray with your feet, but don't forget to pray. Like you can pray, but also put your best effort forward. So it's like your child saying, "I can't do this. Please help me with my math work," and then they put down the pencil and look at you. Like, no, you keep your pencil up and you keep working, and I'll work with you. But if you give up, what do I look like helping you,
Yeah.
right? So that's all. That's all I'm saying. But thank you all again for joining us. That was a quick recap and review, kind of an overview on what we got from yesterday's passage. Again, if you're in the comments and you were here yesterday and you attended yesterday morning, let us know what prayer did for you yesterday. Did you pray any more? Did it change anything in you, or was it just another day for you? Did that one not soak into you? Did you not pick it up in the same way? Because some things you do want to pick up, maybe not the things from people, but they're definitely the things from God, and the things that bring you closer to the divine's pleasure are definitely things I think you should pick up. I'll speak for myself first. Definitely things that I should pick up. So let us know if that was just another mundane thing. If prayer is just another another affirmation for you? Is it just another word for you? Just another passage? Just another sermon for you? You know, and imagine if something happened to you, if your life ended, and that was one of the last days, and you didn't pray, and it was a reminder to you. You know, we tomorrow is not promised to us, folks. So anything that's going on in your life is by the decree of God. You still have your freedom of will, but God has the decree. So don't forget, don't forget just how fragile and precious life and time is, and don't waste it away, because before you know it, it's gone. All right. So if you guys haven't been here and don't know what we're talking about and don't know what we're doing, welcome to the In the Season podcast, where for the last 139 days, we've gone through the book Daily Motivations for African American Success. This is the book right here with Dennis Kimbro right there. If you haven't gotten the book, please get the book. It's a great book, low cost, high value book. Low cost, high value book. Every single day we go through these passages, read it, give you our insights, our outlook, go over the affirmations, and then see what you guys think, right? So a little bit more about this book. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. And 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year. Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels. To cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year, but what it teaches will last you a lifetime. If you learn it, if you let it, if you soak it in. And if there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of what we call race, it's character. It's character. So today's June 18th, Mom. After my sip of coffee, you got anything you want to say before we jump right into it?
No, no. I was looking for something and I did find it that I was going to share a few days ago, but for some reason it just popped. The name of the pastor popped in my head, so I'll share
Uh,
that story. John Hagee. That was I called him my little fat pastor.
okay, I remember. Okay,
That's him. Yeah, John
all right.
Hagee. All right.
Well, today on June 18th, the title is Bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie is a French word for bourgeois, a particular class of people. Bourgeoisie. Lights, and the quote comes from James Farmer, the civil rights pioneer. Light skin, dark skin, high yellow, jet black. What's the big deal? Why can't we accept each other for what we are? I'll read. Light skin, dark skin, high yellow, jet black. What's the big deal? Why can't we accept each other for what we are? In order to accept the fact that we are less than perfect, each of us needs to examine our own biases. Spike Lee's School Days aptly describes the mental conditioning that we African Americans have experienced. His movie chronicles college life through the eyes of an impressionable freshman at a fictitious Black institution. In the process, Lee surfaces many of the taboos and cultural biases that have been a part of our psyche. Just like any other group, we tend to measure people by their looks, their speech, where they come from, and yes, even the color of their skin. We are just as guilty of making snap judgments or scorning those who we do not view as intellectual or social equals. This thinking will keep us in bondage. Individuals should only be judged by their character and the gifts they share. We need to listen to the message and not judge the messenger. A man once had a flat tire outside the gates of a mental hospital. As he removed the lugs from the flat tire to switch them with the spare, they slipped off the curb and fell through the grill of the sewer drain. After he realized there was no way to retrieve them, he began to swear in frustration. Just then, an inmate who had been standing near the gate said, "Why don't you remove a lug from each of the other three other wheels and put them on the spare?" "My goodness," the man said. "What a brilliant idea. What in hell is someone as smart as you doing in there?" "Well, I may be crazy," the inmate replied, "but I'm not stupid." Dr. King wrote, "The highest form of maturity is self evaluation. Never judge others until you've examined yourself first." Each of us must examine our own biases. Each of us must examine our own biases. And the quote for today, not the quote, but the affirmation for the day that we read three times: one for me, one for you, and one for the person that you're going to invite to the barbecue. Who have you invited today? Did anybody invite anybody yesterday? We say that every day, but I don't think y'all take us seriously. The quote is, or the affirmation, excuse me, is: "As I release old biases, I begin to see the divinity and worth of each individual." As I release old biases, I begin to see the divinity and worth of each individual. And for the last time, as I release old biases, I begin to see the divinity and worth of each individual. Simone, what do you think about that?
Hmm.
Bourgeoisie.
Wow. It makes me think of so many things. The making of the slave. It makes me think about Miss Erlene sharing the story with me where when there was a time, even in all black schools, where if you were dark complexion of a darker complexion, you could not be a cheerleader. And I remember hearing that story, thinking, "What?" And so it made me think of that. The making of a slave. It made me thought about something one of my aunts said to me about. We were talking about a situation that was going on within the family just about a week or so ago, and she said, don't judge me because we weigh the same, right? And I thought about the scale that people, if we stood on a scale before God, in a sense, we all weigh the same. I mean, not the same weight, certainly not the same things, but it just made me think about how we look at each other. And if truth be told, and if we're really honest, we have our biases that are set up. And maybe subconsciously, we have biases that make us look at people and think this thing about them based on whether it's the color of their skin, um, what they drove up in, what they have on, before we get to know the person. And that's what I mean by on the scale, we weigh the same. We're human. We have human experiences, but we are a spiritual being. And if we don't get to that, get into prayer, do the self evaluation. I like it here, the highest form of maturity, because we think age brings us to maturity. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. I've never heard it put this way, but it's self evaluation. For me, the word is a student to your life, your true goals, your fresh encouragement that you need on a daily basis. These are the only things that will get you to see people, the divinity and the worth of each individual. And you will see it in them regardless of what they do. Remember the traffic guy down in the school crossing guard in Clarksville, Tennessee that I talk about? With a sense of excellence, he did it. He did it. But if someone didn't know him, let's say he's just sitting in the airport, and they say, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a school crossing guard." How would that person respond to, "I'm a school crossing guard," to, "I'm a doctor"? We are not what we do, because what we do can change in an instant. We could be a doctor today and bound in the bed the next day, and the career does not matter. How you did the career does. you know, how you do it, how you live your life, how you see people, how you encounter people. Do you leave your mark on them, or do you encounter them, based on what you see them doing? You instantly think, I'm better or I'm less than. I need to do more so I can be like them, not even knowing how they are. So we all have those little biases. It also reminded me of my cousin Nicole. Um, God rest her soul. I've shared this story how I thought that I just knew that my cousins felt a little different about me. It seemed that, I don't know, something was off, and we were very little when I young when I recognized that. And then we grew up and we ended up working in the mall just across from each other. And I said, whenever I said, let's do lunch, let's go to lunch. We're right here together. Let's take lunch. And after a while, she said these words to me. She said, you're okay. And I thought, what does that mean? And I asked her. She said, we just always thought that you thought you were better than us.
We
And
thought that
y'all, I
you
was
thought.
just a normal human. I was just a little girl. Didn't know what being better than somebody meant. And during that time, the light skin wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Like there was only a few little light skinned people running around in most families, right? And so it wasn't that I thought it. It was that they thought it based, and truth be told, was based on they were a little darker complected than I am, or was, or whatever. And so, but her getting to know me, I feel she felt so bad about how it had gone about, that she bought me this dress. She bought me a gift. And I think that was her way of just saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because she didn't know what kind of person. She didn't know that I was the most loving, caring, still messed up, had my things like everybody, but the most loving, caring person you ever want to be around. Because I'm going to sometimes love you at that time. I'm going to give you more love than I give myself. It was more important for me to be sure that you were okay than it was me, because I felt like God got me. He's going to take care of me, even amidst my stuff. But I still had my own biases, right? I still, regardless, and I'll turn it over to you, Brandon. In college, we were all asked the question, if by the professor, if your your car stopped, it's the middle of the night, you're by yourself, there are 3, 4 guys coming towards you, black guys, how do you feel? Change it. They're white guys. How do you feel? And I had to be honest with myself sitting right there in that class. Truth be told, at that time I would have felt more threatened by my brothers. And it was just the truth. So I had to look inward. And I still do, to make sure that I don't buy. That's why I said subconsciously you may feel some kind of way about some things that you don't even know, because you've it's been embedded in you, like that frog, Brandon, that you talk about.
Yeah,
You keep hearing it, you keep hearing it, you keep hearing it, and then you begin to think it, like the song that comes on the radio you don't like, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden you're singing it. So we have to be intentional about our mindset, where we're going, and who we are, the character that we are building. And you have to see the divinity in your worth before you can see it in someone else. So over to you, Brandon.
yeah. I wanted to. I was just thinking about the title bourgeoisie and where it comes from. Um, the word bourgeoisie is a French word, and it noted, if I'm not mistaken, the rise of the middle class. So, in the 18th century, prior to the French Revolution, that I think started around like 1789, 1790. Prior to that date, there was the lower class and the upper class. So the statuses were very wide. You were either a noble or you were a peasant, in a sense, right? Meaning you were in some way related to the monarchy or you weren't. Uh, and that gave you a different status, right? A different outcome, basically, different wealth, different way you ate and things like that. But around the turn of the 18th century, there became things becoming slightly more industrialized, and trade, by and large, because of the movement of African slaves and all these other different things that were going on. The middle class became larger. There was more upward mobility, and people began to amass wealth. The majority of people started to get more wealth and became less dependent upon the monarchy. And so that's one of the things that helped to spur the French Revolution and the disbandment and dissolution of the French monarchy, right, was this rise of the middle class. But one of the things that was noticeable was the affluence that came from it, where people were more materialistic. So they were more attuned to materialism, because it's, oh, I have this now. And it's the same thing we deal with, if you think about it. And this is why we say, oh, you're acting bougie. Bougie comes from bourgeoisie, right? Because when you come up in status in any kind of way, or for whatever reason, people say you're acting different. And many times you might be. But in other times, it's the insecurity of others having known you in that space, or seeing that you are related to them in some way, but them having an inferiority complex. And it's a bit of that, and maybe the superiority complex that comes from the person that has now elevated themselves in some form, right, with their upward mobility. And so bourgeoisie originally wasn't meant to mean somebody that was wealthy at all. It meant someone that had gone up to the next tax bracket, basically. You know that feeling when you go from like a commoner, or you go from one tax bracket to the next. Like, after you make six figures, you live in a different place, you drive a different car, you dress a different way, right? That is looked at as the bourgeoisie. And up here it says bourgeoisie, a class or group of people with social behavior and political views held to be influenced private property interest, right? So like a different house, private property, a new car, materialism, things like that. But the definition of bourgeoisie in the 18th century is different than what it is to us now. Because now we don't even say bourgeoisie, we say bougie.
Bougie.
We say bougie. And so how has this changed over time? Because the middle class had grown. And so what do we mean when we call somebody bougie? Somebody let me know in the comments. When we say bougie, what do we mean, right? We got a song out by Migos, Bad and Bougie. I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard that, right? It's coined as a colloquial term now, like, oh, she bougie, right? It's almost looked at as a good thing now, harboring on materialism. So there's this complex within us. There's the colorism that can make us feel bougie. There's status and money that can make us feel bougie. There's that can make us feel bougie. But anything that seems to elevate us over the commoner, saying that, oh, we're not common anymore. And so, like the definition that you put up there, private property was not a thing of the monarchy prior to the 18th century, right? Yeah. Like, people could not own private property. All the property in the state, all the property was in a state of the monarchy, right? You were like a serf to the land. But now, at the turn of the 18th century, more people were able to buy private property. So they were like, they had their own sovereignty. And this made people feel like, oh, I'm more independent. But on top of that, people started to feel as if you're different now. And there's a rap lyric by Jay-Z again. He said, you come up and then people say you changed, like you worked this hard to stay the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you even if you don't attach yourself to arrogance, to materialism, to things like that, once you start to elevate in any kind of way, the insecure around you may become uncomfortable. If you have a smile on your face, and I've been in this situation where I've been around people that were depressed. I've been around people whose families were going through stuff and I didn't even know it. And here I am. I'm happy go lucky. I'm, anything could have happened. But I'm not letting it take my joy. And I promise you, misery loves company, but they hate good company. Misery hates happy company, right? Um, so I think we have to check ourselves to say, what am I feeding into? Do I have a superiority complex based on immaterial things or even material things? Right? Do I have a superiority complex to where I think I'm better than the next person just because of something that I have, something that I possess, because of my car, because of my job, because of my status, because of my family name, even, you know? And how does that displace people around me? And we have to look at and see, do we have an inferiority complex when it comes to other races, right? White people or anything like that, or rich people or anything like that. Do we have an inferiority complex? And a lot of this is conditioning. A lot of it is conditioning from the what do you
Mm.
see? How do you see yourself? What are the images that you've taken in over the last entire lifetime of people that look like you, that come from the place that you come from, that have a family the way that you have it, right? Or that listen to the music that you listen to, that come from the same places, have the same story as you. African Americans, let's take that for example. What have been the images that we've seen? In many cases, in years past, and even now, we've seen caricatures, right? Caricatures. We've seen. If we look into popular culture and hip hop, uh, you see a focus on materialism, a focus on bravado and arrogance, a focus on misogyny, a focus on lowly desires. And a large part of that is not our actual culture, but it is the co-opting of other people outside of our culture that own the businesses and the record labels and the distribution companies, that have all the control of putting the music out there, right? And how often are we willing to give up the good time that we have for money, right? How much are we willing to give up the blessings that God has given us for the status, right? So all that to say, we need to look at how are we feeding into this? Like, what part do we play? Do we have the inferiority complex, or do we have the superiority complex, or a mix of both? Which is usually the case in the conditioning of America, where everything is stratified by race. Like you said, Mom, when you were younger, and the teacher asked you, you got a flat tire, you see three black guys coming, how do you feel? Three white guys coming, how do you feel? But now it's even more than that. It's, well, what about three Asian guys? Three Mexican guys, right? The country is a lot more. I won't say. I guess it is a lot more. It is more diverse, but it's a lot more mixed now. Like you said, it used to be where you only saw one or two or three light skinned people amongst African Americans, spotting here and there. But now it's probably 25, 30%. And like when my wife moved to Georgia, Milledgeville, Georgia, from California, where there at the time was a lot more diversity, it still is. When she moved to Milledgeville, Georgia, people at her school said, so, and she's Native American Mexican and Chinese, mostly Native American Mexican, and then about 25% Chinese. And they said, so are you black or are you white? And she said, I'm Mexican and Chinese. They was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. Huh. So are you black or are you white? And what they were asking wasn't, what's the color of your skin? That, because she got family that's me. You know what I mean? And they Mexican. Her granddad, who was Chinese, I think was darker complected than I am, right? Because it's Cantonese Chinese. So what they were asking was, whose team are you on? Whose team are you on? because everything was polarized into race, especially in the South. And even now, how we look at everything, is it a movie with where the cast is majority black? Is it a movie where the cast is majority white? And what's the difference in the play that those get, in the placements that those get, in the conditioning? It's all based on the conditioning that we have on what's better. Is it white is right? And how much does that play on us? Because even with immigrants, and I'll end with this, when I see immigrants come over, the first generation, and I'm not speaking for all immigrants, but the first generation are attempting to assimilate. In many cases, they're attempting to assimilate with the dominant culture of America, right? And that dominant quote unquote culture is considered America, white culture, or white, the white narrative. If you look at, and you can ask them, I have many friends who are immigrants. I have immigrant friends that say, whew, if even my brothers, I have brothers of Middle Eastern descent, one in particular that in college loved black women. I'm talking about love black women. I mean, that's all he was attracted to was black women. But he better not bring a black woman home. Why? Why are these immaterials of such significance? Right? Or vice versa. There could be the Asian girl. Oh, she better not bring a black man home. A man will be much easier to digest, right? Because one is as an elevation of their status in America, and the other one is looked at as like, I didn't come all the way to America for you to go marry a black man, right?
Because of their
when black men
perception
go
of
to
the black man,
their and
their
their perception
perception that
has been impacted by imperialism, by colonialism. Do you know that black hate, the way that we see it now in America, it wasn't that way across the world. It was more what's your tribe? What's your nationality? Who are your people? It wasn't, are you black? Are you white? Are you yellow? Are you red? These things were arbitrary. Nobody really, there wasn't a care about that. But since colonialism, only since the indoctrination and conditioning of the world based on British Empire, the Portuguese Empire, the French Empire, the Spanish Empire, that used slaves and exploitation and creating a service class, right? Only through that did this idea of colorism exist. The idea of race exists. Before that, it was just tribes. And now it's been so pervasive because of the war machines, because of colonialism, because of resource extraction. This has been a way to divide and conquer. But I tell you this, if there's, like it says on the back of this, if there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, and fortunes of race is really the fortunes of what colonialism has created in stratifying people based on something that's immaterial, that they had no about, that is character. The only way to reverse that is character. And if we realized that it's not the Mexican against the black person, the blacks, it's not the Asians against the Guatemalans and the immigrants, because when the Chinese came over to America, there was actually, like the Willie Lynch letter, there was actually a concerted effort to not give black people jobs because they did not want them to elevate in status. They didn't want them to have upward mobility. So they gave incentives for Chinese people and for other people to come from overseas to accept jobs where they would get paid much less and do much more work. Whereas black people are like, pay me what I'm due. Not just my 40 acres and a mule, but if I do work for you, pay me fairly. Right? Whereas people were coming as immigrants over and saying, we'll take whatever. And now we have that same thing that exists where you have people coming from across the border to work and send money back home. And you have our people saying, wait a minute, y'all taking all of our jobs. So we're fighting for scraps on the totem pole of race. Who can work for master the best? Who can, and it's all based on money. The master isn't the white. The master is the materialism. The master is the money. The master is the status. And it's just been stratified based on race on that totem pole. And we bought into it. We bought the dream and they sold it to us. We bought it. We ate
And
the
then started
cookies.
charging us for it.
Right. We ate the cookies even though we knew that they were poison.
Poison. Yeah.
We ate the steak in the Matrix and said, I know that this steak is fake, but damn, do it taste good. Right? So we have to check ourselves and see what place has race played with us. Are we prejudiced to ourselves? Are we prejudiced to others? And do we really expect to get anywhere in life, in faith, in heart, with these types of prejudices? So let's look at ourselves. That's all I got, Mom. Sorry for being so
So,
long-winded.
no, you're fine. You made me think about a couple of things. And I'll tell you what. Let me read some of the comments, and I'll share some things that I just got out of what you just said. And then we'll jump off. Let's see. Where do you guys have been busy? Wow. Let me go back. Okay. All right. So KL says, my babysitter, ironically named Miss Erlene, used to say that every time it rained. I think he's talking about y'all sit down somewhere. God's doing his work. Miss Brenda says, Tammy, I remember those days well. We had to turn off the TV and be still and be quiet. If you moved or said something, you would get popped. Yep. You had to sit down and be quiet. He says, KL says, I remember that like yesterday. Mike Arnold, Big Mike says, I pray the serenity prayer every morning for the last 3 years. All right. All right. We all know about that serenity prayer, right? And Ms. Brenda says, yesterday led me to a printable 31-day prompt, which I plan on using. All right. Share that. Share that. In the comment section with us. KL says, my dad was high yellow. My mom was jet black. I guess there was no big deal. Because here I is. I like it. I like it. Ms. Brenda Davis says, Brandon, I have invited 2 people to listen in, but neither one of them has chosen to as of yet. That's all you can do is put the food on the plate. That's all you can do. KL is talking about Nicole was so pretty. He remembers Nicole from back in the day. And then Miss Brenda says, I had some of those biases about certain women who were what we called light skinned, and those women ended up being some of the best people that I know and the most humble and coolest. Thank you for that honesty and for sharing, Miss Brenda. Thank you, because it happens more than we know. KL says that reminds me of the story Brandon talked about with his Lincoln. When you got stopped, Brandon, just because you were driving a stinking Lincoln and they wanted to know whose car is this? Like, black men don't drive this kind of car. What? In this day and time. And then, see, well, I put that out there. Miss Brenda Davis said, the people that I know that that are bougie don't have too much to say to you. If you are not into designer, this and that, they keep the conversation short with you. And that would be so cool with me, because I wouldn't even want to deal with people who are that's all you're into is designer, this and that. And then poor mouthing, always got something on new, buying something new, but can't pay that light bill. And then Big Mike says, unless the black man is famous and super rich, then then they accept him because of his status and wealth. Mike says, I played football with guys. The women of other races wouldn't even look at him. But as soon as he began to shine on the field, they started to flock to him. Family that don't agree with their daughter dating black have exceptions, but that exception is extreme. The guy has to help create generational wealth. Only then will he be. So that's something I have on here. So I'm gonna start there. A long time ago, I was in Valdosta, Georgia, at KFC. I think it was on Ashley, and black, this biracial couple came in. Black guy and white girl, two kids. I think it was two boys, and I remember sitting there looking at them because, and this could just be an assumption, right? This is just the way I saw it. They looked like two middle class, people, right? And I remember sitting there thinking that because the assumption for me was that your white women who were not so accepted picked black men, right? Like if a black man went to get a white woman, she was usually not of a certain status, right? Because like what Brandon was saying, so he usually in our minds he went down. You didn't go get you got a just being truth being told, you guys, that's how we looked at it. That the black guy would always have to go get the last, right? He didn't go up and get the top one because daddy, you couldn't bring him on to daddy, right? But this looked like a totally different, and vice versa. There's some black families that don't bring the white man or the white woman into this house, period, right? Not going for it. And I remember sitting there thinking that day, God's going to flip this script on us all. We're all going to be brown. The world's going to be full of brown people, like a certain color of tan, brown, or whatever. And if you look around, like Brandon was talking about with Sella, it also happened with Goey, my goddaughter, and her sisters. I remember people not, and they were both black parents, right? But people didn't know what color. They wanted to know, well, what are they? Not who are they? Well, what are they? What color are they? Like, what difference does it make? Find out who they are, right? And so we bought into it, like Brandon said, in such a subtle way. And I'm gonna give you some more examples of just in my life. And Brandon, you made me think about this. When I bought my house, and y'all, my house is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, small little, 2 car garage, maybe depending on kind of car. Nothing extravagant in the eyes of the world. But I remember hearing the stories of what family and maybe a few friends, um, acquaintances, I would call them, associates or something like that at this point in my life. I don't have many friends. That I think I'm better than everybody because I bought a house. Not I'm proud of you because I worked my ass off to buy that house. I'm talking about saved, paid off bills, got my credit together because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to buy a house. I didn't want to rent forever. And I want to leave something to my son, right? So, but at the same time, I didn't go buy big because I didn't need big. And who was going to pay for big if I couldn't, right? So, but I heard that. So I know, and I heard it more than once, more than twice. And like I said, friends and family came from. A lot of the girlfriends who had never bought a house, right? And that goes back to misery loves company. You have to be careful. And sometimes the people that show up for you when you're down and out is because they it makes them feel up and in. I got to help you now. So misery loves company because if the company elevates, now I see more of my misery that I don't want to change. Because like I said, to buy the house, I had to work my ass off. I had to create a plan
Mm.
and then put it into action. Put it into action. And even then, you guys, First Tennessee, call you out. Yes, I have been with First Tennessee forever and a day. Forever and a
Oh
day.
yeah,
Thought it wasn't going to
I
be a
remember that.
problem because of my credit straight. Make the money. You're getting my direct deposit for years now. Nope. We ain't giving you no money to buy no house. Nope. And I'm like, what? What the hell? And y'all heard the story. My realtor said, no, Tammy, don't pull the money out yet because you want that money to stay in there for the closing of your house, and then you go pull it out. And baby, that's exactly what I did. And they wanted to talk. And then I heard later that First Tennessee would They were doing that. And even some now I hear that they weren't, black people couldn't get money from them. And if it's not a black and white thing, why do we need to put the color in there anyway? Why you need to know what color I am when I'm buying a house? Ask me that when I close, not when you're trying to figure out if you want to give me some money. So y'all, there's so much going on within us. And I'm gonna share this last one, and I'm not gonna do the others. Some of you may have heard this Beth Moore Bible study. I went through this Beth Moore Bible study at the Life Church long time ago. And I sat there, and it wasn't but a few black women in there, 2, 3, including me. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the issues, the problems, the things that these white women were describing about their life. And I remember thinking, oh my God, y'all stuff worse than ours. Right? Because I had this perception of white women had it easy. They had this white picket fence and this husband that showed up and provided and da da da. Whoa. I'm talking about, I'm sitting there like, okay, God, I don't even want to tell my story because I feel blessed. You know what I'm saying, y'all? So we have these, be mindful. But more importantly, what does it say here? The highest form of maturity is self-evaluation. And then I'm going to add self-education, because until you see the divinity and the worth in yourself, you won't. I'm gonna tell you, you won't see it. The people that look like you will be the last people that you see it in. You will see it in the white guy, the Chinese guy, the Mexican guy, before you see it in your African American brother or sister. Why? Because that is what you are. And if you see yourself as unworthy, then guess how you're gonna see the person that looks most like you, or that are kin to you. How dare you be kin to me and elevate before I do? Because that's how we were taught. Read The Making of a Slave. White people, black people, brown people, read it. We all should read that. Because one thing for sure, we are a different race of a different color, but we go through some of the same stuff, right? We go through it differently because it has affected us differently. It has been sold to us differently, right? I recently, some months back, met this what I perceive to be, because I don't know him, but the conversation we had was very light, easy, honest. We had a black white conversation, and he told me about his church for the first time got a black pastor, and how many people left. How you love a God, but you don't think God could plant a seed in a black man, and that you are so in love with God that you would leave a church because God sent a black man to preach. Come on now. Like Pastor Diane said, help, I need some help up in here. Come on, somebody. You've been busting church open for years. But a black man comes to preach and you leave the church. But you got the love of God in you. If you think about that of a man who God sent to a church to preach, what do you think about me or my son, my black son? What do you think? All right. So y'all, you have to dig deep into this. So you have to dig deep into it. Self-evaluation, self-education, and be honest with yourself. Be
I was
honest
I was
with
about to
yourself.
ask real. Do
Hmm.
y'all let me know in the chats? Do you? I was just talking to my boy AD, Roger over there. Do we all as individuals? Let's do some self reflection. Do we have prejudices, biases, aggressions, passive aggressions against a particular race or a particular people? And to what degree? To what degree do we as African Americans have to, and is it moral to have a prejudice against white people after our history? What degree? Because this is a question for us all, morally, ethically, ideologically, religiously, and spiritually. What as African Americans, with our history of 400 years of chattel slavery, of 100 years of Jim Crow, uh, what how are we Malcolm X in the nation, or are we Malcolm X after Mecca? You know, if you guys understand that reference. um what do we have a a right? Is are we is it ethical for us as African Americans to be very distrusting of white people? Honest question. What do y'all think? And then after that, we'll get out of that.
Hmm. Um,
It's a loaded question, isn't it?
Ask it one more time. Just a question.
Okay. Do we have an ethical right, based on our history in America, to have a prejudice against people, against white people in America?
I say no.
Okay. And why? I'm curious.
Okay.
I don't. I'm just asking everybody.
Because if if you group it, right? If you group it, then if I group it, let me keep it personal, then I'm no better than the white people who created this or whatever color. I'm no better than, right? And I've had y'all, and I guess I'm gonna sound like the white person who said I got black friends, right? Let me say I've had people of all races be good to me. I've had people of all races be bad to me. And this is why it has to be about your character that comes from your self evaluation and your self education, right? And a love for God. And because if I, and also to have this ethical, to have the right ethically to feel some kind of way about a certain race of people, then now I have to be honest with myself and question myself for the very fact of it's my feeling some kind of way if it's three black men coming towards me, um opposed to three white men or Asian, right? That's where the self-evaluation comes in, because now I'm the person that I think I have an ethical right to feel some kind of way about. I'm now that person. So we have to be careful, right? We have to be careful that we don't become the beast that we despise.
Exactly.
You have to
I
be
I agree.
careful. You have to be so careful. Because y'all, I'm telling you, I've had more white women open up to me and just love on me in a very honest, honest, trustful way. Like no agendas, expecting nothing from me, just wanting to give, to pour, to be there for me, right? And I didn't have to feel like
Mm,
when I get off the phone, you're calling you're telling somebody that if you really wanted to say it, you could have told me on the phone, right? Or that's what I meant by some people, they want you to be down and out because that makes them up and in. That gives them an opportunity to avoid themselves, to avoid growing, self-examination, self-education. I must be okay if I'm having to help you, right? I'm doing something right. You're down and out right now, not knowing that there's a season for everybody. Seasons change, right? So that's why I say no, Brandon. No ethical right. No, and it's not about ethical, I mean godly. No godly right. No godly right. Because when you grow in character, what does this book say? The fortunes of race, which I think is an interesting word again, is character. Every thought which utters our mind, right? Every deed, every action we perform makes its innermost impression on the fiber of our being. What's your fiber made out of? Because I'm telling you, when I'm reminded about the little young white boy on the skateboard that the police officer, white young boy. I thought about the young white boy all my life. I still think about that young boy. I need to find that video, that story, because it broke my heart to have. I didn't care what color. It didn't matter to me what color either one of them was. This is a child, a human being. This is what children do. Yet here we are. So turn that mirror inward, y'all, and make sure you haven't become the
Yeah.
beast that that you are allowing to keep you in a place and a space in your feelings and emotions rather than healing and growing. KL says that just about everybody where he is beige people. Seattle is filled with beige people, he says. And then also I thought during that time where, man, the white man sitting up there with his precious white daughter, man, his inside is boiling when she comes home with that brother, or when she decides not to come back home because you don't accept that brother. God is teaching you something, baby.
Man, man.
Man. So see, you don't get caught up in it. You
Yeah.
become the best version of yourself. You love on people regardless of what they drive, where they work, how much money they have. You be the best version of yourself with character. Because I'm telling you, God is taking care of it all,
Hey, can I say
baby.
this? I'm gonna tell
Yes,
you
and I'm
this.
done.
A white man ain't never shot at me, but a black man has. Multiple. Last time I checked. You know what I mean? Like, I I, I ain't gonna lie to you. Black people done did me worse than white people.
Yep, same here.
So, you know what I mean?
Whose fault is
On
that? And
huh?
so, whose fault is that,
Exactly.
Brandon? It's not the white man's
Exactly.
fault.
So, and I understand conditioning and over years time, but like, look at this. And I'm gonna just say it. Look at the Zionists, right? The Zionists, the people whose European families converted to Judaism. They weren't ethically Hebrew, weren't ethically from the Middle East. They European, Eastern, Western Khazars, Eastern European, Western Russia, became converted to Judaism, and then decided to be transracial and teach their children a form of to create what's called modern Hebrew, which isn't what Jesus spoke or isn't what the ancient Hebrews and people that practice Judaism spoke at all, and conflated race and ethnicity and religion into the same thing. And then these Europeans went down to Palestine and established a place with the same name as as the people that were called Israel in the Bible, right? That, but they had no ethical, no blood ties to the land, no blood ties to that space. Those people were killed by the millions by Adolf Hitler. Those people were put in gas chambers. Those people were shot in the street, were dug out of holes and houses where they were held, like the Underground Railroad that we hear about from Harriet Tubman here in America. And then their descendants, the descendants of that diaspora, the descendants of those people that were displaced by the millions across the world, from Poland, from Germany, from Hungary, uh, in 1948, due to the Balfour Declaration from the United Kingdom, colonized Palestine and called it Israel. And since then, America and Britain have been funding them with weapons. And you know what they do now? They're racist. It's the only uh, ethno-theocratic state, saying that you have to be a Jew to have full citizen rights in Israel. If I go there, I can't have full citizen rights because I'm not Jewish. They're the only place in the entire world that says that if you are not Jewish, you don't have the same rights. You don't get the same license. You don't get the same tags on your car. You can't walk on the same sides of the street. I mean, the same shit, excuse me, the same stuff that Jim Crow was and apartheid in South Africa is what goes on there now. They're racist. And the most disgusting thing about that, not just the fact that they're the synagogue, in my opinion, that is spoken about in Revelations, what is it, 3:9? But that those people were oppressed. Those people that had been done so dirty, with such evil was done to them, have now become the very thing that oppressed them in the first place. Isn't that disgusting? Isn't that a weird thing, to become the very thing that you despise? To become a Nazi in another form to another people, to say never again, but then you're the one that do it.
Yeah.
Then as a nation, killing people by the hundreds of thousands. And so we have to, and that shows me a part of myself. Because there was a time where I had something against a couple people, police and this and that. And, but we have to correct that within ourselves. We can't let other people's hate corrupt our hearts. We can't let other people's hate corrupt our hearts. Because if we do, then we became them. We lost all our Black identity. Not Black identity, African diaspora, or whatever our culture is, whatever you decide your culture is. You lose it completely. You apostate from that when you let that hate into your heart and you make it ubiquitous across an entire general population of people. You just became the white supremacist. You became the same thing that you hate. Isn't that crazy? I just think that's such an irony that we can become the devil that we were fighting.
Yeah. And Brandon, be honest with yourself. How do you feel when you meet someone and you say, hey, okay, oh yeah, where do you live? And they say, I live in Fraser. What does your conscience say? What do you think about them? Or I live in Orange Mound.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, nothing. Because
But some people, I'm just saying,
yeah.
some people who may live, a Black person who lives in Collierville makes not, and I'm not throwing shade. We're talking here. May go to another status, another area, and don't want to be caught near.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, when I was over there with you, just helping out a little bit, I won't say working. It felt like home to me, man. I'm like, man,
That's what I'm saying.
it felt like, shoot, I'm back
But
at
I'll tell you this.
I'm
tell
back
you
at
this.
home.
Mom, I felt at home, but I tell you what, I still don't like how, I mean, it's been
What
5,
goes
6
down.
times over there where
Yeah.
shots right next to me.
Yeah.
For no reason. I don't, you know
But
what I mean? Like,
but the thing is, you I get that, but you don't judge the people
right.
on a few people.
Nah, I'm still waving.
Right.
And for that reason, for example, like what I say about the Zionists, I'm not saying that about the Jewish people, about the people that practice Judaism. Like my best friend, Randy, Mama, you know Randy.
Yeah.
I went to Randy's wedding in Florida. Randy went to my wedding in Mexico. I literally grew up with the same. I grew up with Zionists, literally. And many of them have apostated from that because they're like, wait a minute, we were taught wrong. You know, I grew up with these people. I went to the JCC. I had an honorary membership to the Jewish Community Center with my skin tone. You know, I'm like, those are some, honestly, like, those are some people that are so dear to my heart, like Randy and Jennifer. And I ain't gonna say their last names because I don't want to put them out like that. But Rachel, but at the same time, we have to be able to separate the individual from what their government is doing, from what the general population of people are doing, and we have to be distinct to say this is right and this is wrong, no matter who it is. And if right and wrong changes because of who's doing it, then we're the problem.
Right, right.
We are the
If
problem.
anything changes because of who's doing it, then you're the
Right.
problem.
Then
You
we're the
know,
problem.
and that's you too, because y'all want to do some stuff and justify it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing changed in the equation is you or somebody
Yeah.
you love,
Yeah.
right? That's not character.
Nope.
That's not character. All right, Brandon, it's 18.
That's
Let's get
caricature.
off of it.
Lord, we done got on this for, I thought it was gonna be a short one. We gotta get better about doing this
We
short,
got to
y'all. I'm
get better.
so
Y'all need to
sorry, y'all.
start taking off and making us get off.
Yeah, just
Because
to
I
make it a
promise you, I
cutoff.
got some stuff I got to do. Yeah, just
Make it a
like y'all
cutoff.
go back.
Make it a cutoff. All right, y'all. Well, look, this is I don't think I'm gonna run through everything today. The title was Bourgeoisie. I hope y'all enjoyed it. The affirmation was, as I released old biases, I began to see the divinity and worth in each individual. Individual. You can't judge the individual by the group. You really can't.
That's right.
You can't judge Jesus by Judas. You can't. So let's check our own biases today. And this a motivation for African American success, because we don't want to become that beast and that devil that oppressed us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to do that. Defend yourself, create your communities. If they fight against you, slay them. I'll just say it straight out. If they fight against you, you slay them. But don't harbor hate in your heart for anybody based on immaterial things like their race, like their color, like their status, like their position. Don't pick people up higher than they should, and don't put them lower, because what they eat don't make you poop, and everybody poop stank, and everybody blood bleeds red. And if you cut us open, you can't tell if you're black, white, Asian, anything like that. So how idiotic is it for us to be as smart as we are, but to still stratify each other based on something as low and immaterial as the pigmentation of our skin? That's ridiculous. So that's all I got for y'all today. I
So,
love y'all. Y'all take care. Mom, you got anything before we jump off here?
just injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and if it affects one directly, it affects all indirectly.
So don't turn
Right,
away just because it ain't your race.
right, right, right.
We
And
do that, don't we? Oh, that ain't my
don't
people.
turn two either, because it
Yeah.
just because it is
Yeah.
right. All right,
All
so
right.
y'all be great. It's been great. Thank y'all for rocking with us. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, God willing. Y'all give this more time for contemplation, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Bring somebody to the barbecue. Share this plate of food. Peace.